Welcome all. I am Ajithprasad from the Department of Archaeology, the MS University of Baroda. Our presentation today is on the Harappan seals and ceilings excavated from two Harappan sites in Gujarat, Bagasra and Shikarpur. This is joint presentation with Gregg Jamison of the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. Before we actually start our presentation, we would actually like to thank the organizers of the annual conference or South Asia conference at University of Wisconsin Madison, and Professor Mark Knoyer for inviting us at this session on in the seal. In addition to that, there are several institutions and researchers which are part of the excavations at Bagasra and Shikarpur, particularly MS University of Baroda. We would like to actually thank all our colleagues and fellow researchers and students, those who were part of the excavation team at both the sites. Archaeological Survey of India and Gujarat State Archaeology Department for granting us permission to excavate the two sites. The University of Wisconsin-Madison, Professor Mark Knoyer and his doctoral students for their association with the excavation of the two sites and subsequent research on excavated materials. Researchers from the INTES project of the RIM Kyoto, Japan, researchers from NOGAP project, CIS and IMF Barcelona, and the MS University of Baroda. We also would like to thank GHF for supporting the Harappan research of the MS University of Baroda. The two sites, Shikarpur and Bagasra, which we are actually going to talk about, is located on opposite shores of the Gulf of Kutch. Excavations at these two sites has actually kind of resulted in the discovery of a few Harappan seals. The purpose of this presentation is to assess the stratigraphic context and the spatial distribution of the seals and ceilings found from these two sites, and look at the larger cultural context of the use of the seals by the Harappans. Seals and ceilings are enigmatic artifact of the Indus civilization, largely because of the undeciphered nature of the script. The social and economic context of their production and use are mostly assumed ones rather than real. It is with that rider we'll actually look at the stratigraphic context and spatial distribution of seals and ceiling from the two sides. In the process, we will also look upon some aspect of their protection and look at the context of their occurrence at these two sites for understanding their significance in the overall economic and cultural development of Harappa culture in Kutch and Gujarat. This is a general picture of the Harappan site at Bagasra, a small settlement measuring just slightly less than 2 hectares. It has got a cultural deposit of 7.5 meters. It actually shows habitation belong to the urban and the post-urban phase. This is the plan of the Harappan settlement at Bagasra. It clearly have two segments. The northern segment is the one which is fortified, and the southern half is the unprotected part. Within the fortified area, one does actually come across evidence of organized production of craft items like shell and stone and feints beads primarily. And craft production is also, evidence of craft productions are also found in the unprotected part. These are of small scale productions. As far as the distribution of seals are concerned, you do actually come across seals both in the fortified area and outside the fortified area, although most of the seals are actually found in the fortified part of the settlement. We do actually have few radiocarbon dates from the sites. The date actually ranges from 2500 BC to 2100 BC. the overall cultural development at the site has been divided into 4 phases. The first 3 phases belong to the urban phase of the industrialization, and the last phase, the 4th phase, actually belong to the post-urban phase. The seals there are 9 seals and 6 ceilings which are recovered from the site in the excavation. This chart actually shows the phase-wise distribution of the seals and sealing. There are no seals which are found from phase 1. Most of the seals are actually found in phase 2, which has got 7 seals, and phase 3 has only 3. And in the case of ceilings, 2 ceilings are found from phase 2 and 3 ceilings are actually found from phase 3. So most of the seals and ceilings in fact actually belong to phase 2. These are the total number of striated seals which are actually found from Bagasra. The size actually varied. From the smallest one is actually 1.4 centimeters square, whereas the largest one is 3.8 centimeters square. These are all the inscribed seals recovered from the site are unicorn seals having inscription in Harappan characters at the top. We also have a few uninscribed seals from the site. 2 uninscribed seals from the site. One is a button seal, the other appears to be a cylindrical seal. Cylindrical seal. We will be actually looking at those seals in detail in the subsequent slides. As I mentioned earlier, the seals are actually found both in the fortified area as well as outside the fortified area. This particular seal actually is found outside the fortified area in the southern half. This in fact is a typical example of a Harappan seal. Harappan inscribed striated seal. It has got the unicorn icon or the motif, above which you have the inscription in 9 characters. It has got a projected bows, pierced projected bows, and a groove. These are the standard features one generally come across in the Harappan seals. This is the only inscribed striated seal found in the unprotected part of the site. All other inscribed seals are found within the fortified area. This particular seal is actually found close to the southeastern corner of the fortification, and also found associated with the workshop, fanes and stone workshop. This is an interesting feature which we will actually keep on observing at the site, and and this particular seal is a small one which is actually found not very far away from the seal which we have just seen, just 5 meters away, but at a different level. This actually belongs to the last part of the second phase, or most probably belong to the period phase 3. This has got an Harappan inscription having 2 Harappan signs at the top. There is also another small broken piece of a seal, probably a unicorn seal, because the standard which you actually see engraved in here is commonly found in the unicorn seals. The importance of this piece, in fact, is that this has been actually kind of fabricated later to form a small little groove here, can actually be used as a pendant. That actually indicate the importance the Harappans actually attached to this symbol, most probably. These 2 seals, in fact, are actually found in the disturbed context, very close to the narrow gateway that connected the southern gateway that actually connected the fortified area with the unprotected southern half of the settlement. One on the left side, in fact, is found in a robber's pit, whereas the one on the right side is actually found at the floor of this narrow passage that actually connected the two part of the settlement. This is the southern entrance gate, and the first seal which we described is actually found at this context, which is part of a robber's pit, whereas the second seal is actually found embedded in the sediment at the bottom of this narrow passage, which was not actually disturbed by the robbing activity. And that seal, in fact, is a unique kind of a seal, a box type of a very tiny one, measuring 1.4 into 1.4 centimeters square. This is a unicorn seal having 6 Harappan characters inscribed at the top. But on one side of this box type seal is scooped out into a hollow chamber, and the mouth of this chamber actually has a small narrow groove through which one can actually slide a thin metallic plate, and that plate can actually be secured by inserting a pin at this little hole. The other 3 sides of this a seal is actually decorated with geometric patterns. You have a diamond kind of cross-hatched pattern on one side. The other side has got a parallel hatched lines, and opposite to that is a divided parallel hatched lines. Seals of similar type are actually very rare, but one of that has been actually reported from Mohenjo-daro. Very similar to what has been reported from Bagasra. It actually has the Bagasra one is a unicorn motif, and this one is the tiger as an icon. The inscriptions are also different, but in other words, it is it's a box type seal. This clearly indicates the interregional interaction that existed between different regions of in the civilization. Bagasra is actually located almost 600 kilometers away from Mohenjo-daro. There is also another interesting seal which is found from the western side of the fortified area in association with the shell workshop. This is a seal showing different style. This is grayish in color. This has been extensively studied by Randall Lowe to understand its features. That's the context in which the seal was actually found. That's a shell workshop in which the seal has actually been found. This seal is stylistically distinct and actually kind of poorly made compared to the other unicorn seals. The broken part or section of the seal actually shows unfired interior of a striated, which is grayish in color. It appears that this seal was actually not fired adequately, but it is actually coated with before actually firing. Its surface is quite hard. It may probably suggest that one can actually see that all other seals appear to have been fired white all the way through. Maybe this actually suggests that there existed different workshops for seal production. These are the unicorn seals which we have actually found from the site at Bagasra. They actually exhibit a unique carving style. Some of them actually shows links with the other side of the in the civilization. The top 2 seals from Bagasra actually shows very close, stylistic features, and a seal from Dholavira actually shows very similar features as far as the style is concerned. We have a seal. We have two seals. This one where my cursor is, that seal actually is from Bagasra, and a similar seal is actually found from Lothal. Although the inscriptions which you come across on them are actually different, stylistically they are similar, and also the sizes are similar. This probably suggests that there existed regional styles in seal cutting in Gujarat. There are three seals, one from Bagasra and two from Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. Mohenjo-daro, which actually shows a duplicate inscriptions, which you can actually see in the top right corner. This one is from Bagasra, and these two are actually from Mohenjo-daro, which essentially indicate shared use of the script. And these two seals, one from Bagasra and the other from Mohenjo-daro, shows very close similarity in the style of execution, most probably originating from a single workshop. Once again indicating the interregional connection that existed, long distance interregional connection that existed between sides of the inter-civilization. We also do have a few uninscribed seals. This one in fact is a quadrifoil button seal, squarish button seal with a geometrical pattern, concentric circles actually kind of inscribed on it. It has got a very prominent boss which is pierced as well. Similar button seals are actually reported from Shikarpur as well as from Nagwada. The presence of similar seals in Nagwada, which is a site located in North Gujarat, on the edge of Little Rann of Kutch. Shikarpur is just 20 kilometers further north of Bagasra. This essentially suggests that inter-site interaction that existed between sites of different regions in Gujarat. This one is a cylindrical seal. Whether it is a seal or not can actually be debated, but it is made of steatite, and it has got all the features which we generally associated with a seal. It has got a glazed surface. It has been engraved with a geometrical pattern, and it has actually been pierced from both sides, and one can actually see it has got a small cavity here, and on one side the other side is actually broken. I am not sure whether this geometric pattern is actually found any one of the ceilings, and this is actually found from a bead working area outside the fortification. We also have a number of terracotta ceilings, 6 terracotta ceilings actually found in the excavation. These terracotta ceilings actually show single and multiple impressions. Some of them actually also show thread or cord impressions at the rear face of the ceiling. This one in fact is a seal which was stamped by the same seal at you have 5 different impressions on it. appears to be a unicorn seal. The features are so faint, one can actually make it in some of the impressions do actually have the unicorn as well as some remnants of the script at the top. On the back face of this ceiling has the impression of a cylindrical rod and the impression of thread. This one in fact is this ceiling actually has two stamped impression of the same seal, and at the back it has got thread impression. This is an interesting ceiling which is actually found outside the fortified area. A single seal impression, probably a large seal, a unicorn seal. From the features of the motif, one can make out it could be a unicorn seal, but the inscription in two lines. The rear face is flat. This one actually bears the impression of the Pentafoil button seal, but not the impression of the seal which is found from Bagasra, but very similar. The back side of the seal actually have the cylindrical rod impression and also the impression of the thread which is found around the cylindrical rod. Now look at the spatial distribution of seals and sealing at Bagasra. What one can actually see is that most of the seals are actually found within the fortified area. And there are only two seals which are actually found, including that cylindrical one, which is actually found outside the fortified area. Within the fortified area, we also, as far as the ceilings are concerned, most of them are actually found outside the fortified area. There is only just one ceiling which is found inside the fortified area. Within the fortified area, the seals are actually found in association with organized craft protection. One is actually found from the shell workshops here. The other is actually found from the stone and fence bead producing area in here. And these two seals obviously are actually found in the disturbed context. So, what does it actually kind of suggest in terms of economic activity? We know that most of the seals, in fact, are actually found from the phase first, and phase first, in fact, is the economically most viable phase of the Harappan habitation at the site. Most of the workshops dealing with the shell as well as stone bead production are all found very active in phase 2. Their association of the seals with this workshop would most probably suggest the craftsman or it was probably the craftsmen or the personnel managing with the craft protection used these identity tokens more frequently than other members of the society. That is a hypothetical position derived from the association of the seals with the craft producing area at Bagasra. We will actually look at this in the context of Shikarpur. Shikarpur, in fact, is located 20 kilometers further north across the Gulf of Kutch. That's the aerial view of the site at Shikarpur. That's the Harappan Mount at Shikarpur. Much larger than the site is much larger than Bagasra, almost double the size of Bagasra. The cultural deposit is almost 6.5 meters. This also, like Bagasra, this is also a fortified settlement, but it has got an inner fortification and an outer fortification. The inner fortification actually measures 1 hectare or 100 103 meter by 103 meters. But there are no clear evidence of organized or large-scale craft activity, craft production at this site, in spite of its large size. What we actually come across here is household production spread both within the fortified area as well as outside the fortified area. One important feature of the site is the central open space, an open central space within the fortified area, which probably was used both economic activities as well as social activities. We have a few radiocarbon dates from these sites as well. As far as the dates are concerned, both Bagasra and Shikarpur are contemporary, although the Shikarpur dates probably 50 years later than 50 to 100 years later than Bagasra. The date actually ranges from 2450 BC to 1900 BC. The cultural development or the overall cultural deposit at the site has been actually kind of divided into 3 phases. The first 2 phases belong to the urban, and the last phase is the post-urban. That is the cultural, that is the chronological context which will see the seals and ceilings which are recovered from the 2 sides from Shikarpur. There are not very seals were actually found from Shikarpur. In fact, there is only one inscribed steatite seal which is actually found from Shikarpur. The others are, one is a button seal with no inscription of steatite. The third one, in fact, is a terracotta inscribed tablet. But we have more number of ceilings, 13 ceilings, which are actually found from the site. And these seals actually come from phase 1. Both seals and ceilings actually comes from phase 1. In phase 2, we have phase 2, which is actually dated around 2200 BCS, just two ceilings. And rest of all seals and ceilings actually belong to phase 1, which has been actually dated from 2400 BC to 2200 BC. So in terms of chronological context, there is not much difference in the distribution of seals and ceiling between Bagasra and Shikarpur. This is the only inscribed steatite seal found from Shikarpur. This is a rhino seal, relatively a large one. This has got an inscription at the top of the icon. And it has got a very prominent pierced boss with a groove at the top. And the left corner of the seal, in fact, is actually kind of broken. This actually breakage, in fact, is original. This was not accidentally broken, because this is actually found to be quite smooth. The broken part is actually found quite smooth, and it is actually kind of glazed, suggesting that the breakage actually happened probably during the production of the seal, not later when it was actually produced. This seal is in fact actually found. The seal is actually found just outside the outer fortification on the south of the settlement. That's the outer boundary wall of the fortification here, and the seal is found just adjacent to this wall. Belong to the first phase of the habitation. One is not very sure this is the actual context the seal was originally deposited, because there are a lot of erosion that was actually happening in the southern part of the site. The other seals which we have from Shikarpur is this Pentafoil button seal. showing this floral pattern, which is the pattern with the concentric circle is quite similar to what we have actually seen at Bagasra. The difference is that this is Pentafoil and the other is quarterfoil. And as we mentioned earlier, these type of seals are actually reported from Nagwada and also Bagasra, suggesting shared intersite sealing practices within Gujarat. This one, in fact, is an inscribed terracotta tablet engraved with 4 or 5 Harappan characters in 2 rows. It does not have a. This is just a tablet. Does not have a boss at the rear face. Similar kind of inscribed tablets are actually reported from Lothal as well as from Tholavera, suggesting this was not a very unique kind of a inscribed tablet. We also have parallels reported from Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. We have 13 terracotta ceilings excavated from Shikarpur. These ceilings actually show multiple and single stamped impressions of the seals. The top, these 2 actually show multiple impressions. This is 2 seal impression. This has actually got 3 or 4 seal impressions, whereas this one actually has just 1 seal impression. And this one is a terracotta ceiling with multiple impression, but showing different inscription, obviously from 3 different seals. At the back side of it actually shows the impression of thread. So what we have is we have different types of seals which are found at Shikarpur, showing multiple impressions of different seals and multiple impression of the same seal here, and a single impression of a single seal. So there are different sealing practices actually kind of followed at the same site at Shikarpur. We have similar evidence reported from other sites, especially from Lothal. This was actually kind of identified by Dr. Dennis Ferenc while he was actually kind of investigating Lothal. Its discovery from other sites of similar ceilings clearly indicate shared sealing practices between sites in Gujarat. This is another terracotta ceiling found from Shikarpur. This one actually shows impression of a large seal with a 3-headed animal motif and an inscription in the middle. On the right side is the rear face of the seal, which actually shows impression of either thumb or palm. We're not sure whether it's a thumb or palm. Thumb impression appears to be impression of the palm. More importantly, around this seal impression, you do actually come across this a series of crescentic or nail impressions. This is a pattern which we actually come across in from a number of ceilings unearthed from Shikarpur, suggesting this has some interesting symbolic meaning to the people at Shikarpur. Seals of three-headed animals are actually not very common, but are actually reported from other sites too. Two of such seals are actually found from Dholavira, and one is actually reported from Mohenjo-daro. No seal of this type has been actually found from Shikarpur. What we have the seal impression. There are obvious differences in the three-headed animal, which you can actually see in the seal impression at Shikarpur when we actually compare it with the other three-headed motifs found on these seals. These two seals from Dholavira, the animal is actually facing towards the south on the seal, towards the right on the seal, whereas this one from Mohenjo-daro actually faces the left. I suppose the seal which was used for sealing this, at Shikarpur, the animal was probably facing the left, so it is more closer to what we have from Mohenjo-daro. But you can actually see the articulation of the animal motif is quite different from the articulation of the animal motif which you have from Mohenjo-daro. So this once again actually suggests the interregional interaction that existed among the Harappan sites, even when they are actually located at far off places, suggesting shared features of the seal use. This is a context in which those seals are actually found from Shikarpur, that three-headed seal and the seal with the multiple impression of different seals are actually found from this structure. No evidence of any craft activity can be associated with this structure, except for the fact that we have a cluster of rock-rich plates which are found within this structure. The structures around this this structure is just north of the open space at the center of Shikarpur settlement, and all around this open space you do actually come across evidence of household craft production, organized craft production. In addition to these inscribed ceilings, which are found from Shikarpur, we also do have seals actually showing this crescentic or nail impressions. These are what actually is the significance of this, one does not really know. It appears to be reasonably popular at Shikarpur. Four such specimens have been actually found in the excavation at Shikarpur. This one actually shows at the rear face of the ceiling has the impression of probably some kind of a sealing device, forming a kind of cross. Now, looking at the spatial distribution of seals and sealing at Shikarpur, what one can see is that the only inscribed striatite seal is actually found just outside the outer boundary wall of the site. The button seal is actually found here within the fortified area, close to the western gate. And the inscribed TC tablet is actually found close to the southern fortification wall. It clearly does not fall into any kind of pattern. They are not found associated with any organized craft activity. These red dots actually represent the distribution of ceilings at Shikarpur. All the ceilings are actually found within the fortified area. And what is also curious, in fact, is of the 13 ceilings which are found from Bagasra, I think 9 of them are actually found in this structure, which is just adjacent to this open space, space at the center of the site. As I mentioned earlier, the central square was actually used to, both for economic activities as well as for social activities. The significance of this, the abundance of the ceilings found in association or in proximity to the central square is not very clear. I think it needs more research, more to understand its significance. Now, what it actually suggests in terms of understanding the economic activities that were actually carried out at Shikarpur. Shikarpur, being a larger settlement, showing economic prowess at par with Bagasra, the recovery of just one striated seal is quite intriguing. There is just one seal that is also found outside the fortification. If we actually go by the hypothesis, seals as identity tokens of the organized craftsman, based on the observations we made at Bagasra, the minimal representation of seals at the site probably is linked with the absence of organized crafts production at the site. That is what we have actually seen. There is no evidence of organized craft production at the site. What we have is mostly household productions. And the thriving economy of the site was actually sustained by the trading facility the site actually offered, being located equidistant from Kutch, Saurashtra and North Gujarat regions. So the site, Shikarpur, probably acted as a kind of marketplace wherein many of the Harappan craft items were actually kind of traded or accessed by the sites in the neighboring regions. Probably relatively higher number of ceilings reported from the site reflect this cultural dynamics. So that is what most probably the relative more number of ceilings actually found from the site may actually kind of tell us. In any case, these are hypothetical positions which needs validation through a contextual and temporal analysis of seals and ceilings from other sites. It is only after actually kind of verifying these aspects one could actually be able to draw meaningful conclusions about the association of the seals and ceiling with what is known as organized production and also the exchange or trading activities. Thank you very much for your patience. That's the end of my presentation.